Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I don't have any lip product on. Hold please. Alright, that's a little bit better. We got a little something on the lips. But I forgot where I was at in my intro. My name's Sydney, but I didn't say that before. And today's video is one that I'm super excited about because I actually took to my Instagram stories and I asked you guys, I'll insert the thing right here, if you would be interested in seeing a collective Shop My Stash for Dupes video for the ColourPop Mint to Be palette and also the ABH and Reesy palette. And then today, like a couple hours ago when I'm filming this, the Dominique Cosmetics released a picture of their newest palette, so I'm going to toss that one in here too. But today we're going to shop my stash for dupes. If you guys are new to this series, this is basically just where I go through my collection and see if I own any other palettes or if I can create a singles palette with a very similar color story to new palettes that are launching, an effort to kind of curb my urge to buy them. Please don't take these videos as kind of like anti-consumerism, like you can't buy that, I'm telling you what to do. No, this is simply just a resource for those of you who are on a low buy or a no buy like myself, or who are trying to cut down their eyeshadow purchases. Also me. If you guys caught my makeup inventory, you know that I have far too many palettes. I'll link that down below if you didn't catch it though. But I kind of wanted to lump all of these three palettes together because I felt like they were all getting a lot of buzz and they both definitely caught my eye. And the Dominique Cosmetics one, I feel like it's just a tradition on my channel at this point. I've duped every other palette that she's ever released, so I can link those down below as well if you guys have ever been eyeing those other palettes that she has launched but you didn't quite want to shell out the cash from. Check out those videos down below. But this is going to be a little bit different than my single palette focused Shop My Stash for Dupes videos because I'm not going quite as in depth with this one. In that one, I usually go into depth in every single shade, every single nuance of a shade, how it's different, how they're similar. In this video, we're just kind of trying to dupe the vibes, you know what I'm saying? So these may not be exact dupes, but I wanted to pull them out of my collection to prove to myself and maybe give you guys some inspiration that maybe you don't need these palettes, maybe you can create similar looks with palettes that you already own, because that's the goal of eyeshadow, right? At least it is for me. I want to be able to create beautiful looks with my eyeshadow palettes, not just stare at them sitting in my collection. So I'm going to stop rambling on and let's hop into the individual palettes. Alright you guys, so the first one that I want to talk about is the ColourPop Mint to Be palette. I think this palette is so stinking cute, you guys. I have been a pretty big fan of ColourPop's 9-pan palettes overall. I was very close to buying the entire 9-pan vault when it went for sale. Was that around Black Friday? I feel like it was. But I was actually gifted a few for Christmas, and thankfully that person was like, wait, hold up, don't buy those. I'm buying you this for Christmas. So I was like, cool. But I do like the formula. I like the concept of a little smaller palette and more of a concentrated color story. But as much as I love all that, I don't always know that I necessarily need all of them like immediately. But I definitely can fall into the hype when they release because they are so beautiful, they are so affordable, and it can just be really easy to just click that add to cart button and bring it home with me. I feel like with these very concentrated color stories, it can be easy for me to say, oh, I don't have that many purples or that many greens or that many mint shades, but then when I really shop my stash and look for those shades, I'm like, well, maybe I don't need this palette so much anymore. So anyways, I'm gonna stop rambling on and I'm going to show you guys my dupe palette. So as you guys can tell, my dupe palette only has 8 shades, not 9 shades, because I felt like I didn't have 9 similar enough shades, but honestly that's fine with me. I don't really need 9 mint shades. But I'll insert a close-up picture right here so you guys can see it a little bit better. Overall, I feel like I did an okay job duping this. I feel like the mint palette definitely has some stronger blue undertones than my palette, but overall I feel like they are pretty similar. So let's hop into the shades themselves. So I'm just going to insert a picture of the swatches on the screen and kind of read off the shade names. So the first shadow we have is from Sydney Grace, and it is in the shade Tangy Citrus. Next shade we have is also from Sydney Grace and it's called Calmeria. Next up is one of the Clionadh stained glass shadows and this is in the shade Reflectance. Next up we have ColourPop La Playa. Then we have Sydney Grace Green Mango. Next we have Sydney Grace Honeydew. Then we have Sydney Grace Siren Call, and then finally Sydney Grace Key Lime. So I just wanted to let you guys know that most of those Sydney Grace shadows were from their Danny's Dream collection, which I can insert a picture of right here so you guys can kind of see what that one looks like. That one reminds me more of like Granny Smith greens more than mint greens, but it's an absolutely beautiful green. 9 9-pan bundle. What's the word for like a quad but for 9 pans? I don't know. But it's a beautiful little bundle if you guys are into greens, and I really do love Sydney Grace's formula. I do feel like they are superior to ColourPop. It does cost a little bit more than this little ColourPop palette, but if you like those tones better, you will definitely not be disappointed in the formula. So overall, I feel like I did an okay job duping this. I feel like my palette is definitely a little bit warmer and a little bit less blue toned, but after duping it, I feel like I've gotten the mint palette out of my system, but I think I could be satisfied by just buying 1 or 2 kind of minty green singles rather than buying that whole palette because I do have some similar tones. Alright you guys, next up we have the Anastasia Beverly Hills Amrezy palette. This is Amrezy's second collaboration with them because of course she created that beautiful highlighter that everyone lost their mind over years ago. But here is what the new palette looks like. A lot of people have been saying that it kind of just looks like Norvina, Soft Glam, and Modern Renaissance had a little baby, and I don't disagree, you guys. I think those are very, very similar palettes. Unfortunately, I only have Modern Renaissance, so I can't really draw those comparisons for you guys, but use your own judgment. Look at what you have in your collection. So I actually created a little singles palette for my dupe once again. I'll insert a close-up of it right here so you guys can see it a little bit better. And I think I did a pretty darn good job duping this palette, if I do say so myself, you guys. This is one where I thought it was really pretty, but it wasn't really grabbing my attention, kind of like the mint palette was. This one I could pretty safely talk myself out of without doing this exercise, but I'm really glad that I did because now I have this beautiful color story put together and maybe I inspired some of you guys. So the ABH palette is a little bit bigger than my dupe palette, but honestly that doesn't really bother me because I felt when I was looking at the pictures and the swatches that a couple shades probably didn't need to be in there. They were too similar to each other, so you could have just done one and been done. So let's hop into the first row of swatches. So the first shade that I included in there is from the Winky Lux Kitten palette, and it's the shade Duchess. It's just a nice matte cream. Next up, we have a light pink shade. This is also from that same palette, and it's the shade Purr. Next up, we have a single from ColourPop, and it's the shade Something Special. Next, we have another single from ColourPop, and this one's in the shade Not Playing. Next up, we have another shadow from that Winky Lux palette, and this one's in the shade Cat Eye. Next, I have a single from Sydney Grace, and it's in the shade Juggler. And then finally, I have a pressed glitter from Sydney Grace, and it's in the shade Shenandoah Falls. So onto row number 2. The first shade is called Sweet Dreams, and it's from Sydney Grace. Next up, we have a ColourPop single called 1111. Next, we have another Sydney Grace single in the shade Monterey. Next, I have a Lethal Cosmetics single in the shade Terminus. Next, I have a nice chocolate brown from ColourPop in the shade Realness. Then I have a deep matte black called Prism. And then finally, a matte deep dark chocolate brown from that Winky Lux palette in the shade Boots. So I felt like this one was pretty darn easy to dupe. Once I kind of got my dupe palette together, I really did not feel the urge to purchase this palette anymore, especially at that higher price point since it has those extra couple shades. Alright you guys, so the last palette that we're going to talk about today in dupe is the Dominique Cosmetics Latte 2 palette. This palette was literally announced today when I'm filming this. I'm hoping to have this video up the Tuesday after that goes live, so I think the 14th. So it's the 12th right now. I hope that this video will be up on the 14th. This is a beautiful palette, you guys, but honestly, I feel like it is so incredibly dupeable. That first half of the palette is like the ColourPop Coconuts palette. I don't own that palette, but I feel like I have a pretty good dupe for that one on my hands, so I'm going to share that one in a minute. And then those pops of color at the end, if that's what's grabbing you, if that's what's really drawing you into this palette, I would honestly just suggest going out and grabbing a couple singles. You're going to save yourself so much money. But let's hop into the actual dupes that I have in my collection. So for this palette, I decided to skip the singles, and I just went in with 2 palettes that I felt were pretty much spot on dupes. So the first palette that I immediately pulled out was my Lorac Mega Pro palette. So this palette is very neutral. It has a lot of those beautiful cool tone neutrals, and I know Lorac's formula is one that I trust and one that I love and one that I wish was cruelty free so badly. Of course, the ColourPop Chasing Rainbows palette would be a great cruelty-free alternative if you guys are looking for a very neutral palette to kind of combat your urge to buy this one, or that's at a lower price point. So I definitely recommend pulling out this palette or looking for a similar one in your collection. And then to dupe those colorful shades, I just grabbed out my Blush Tribe Blossom palette. And this has a lot of those beautiful kind of pastel shades right there ready for me, and I don't give this one enough love as it is, so I don't feel like I could add that palette to my collection in good conscience. So let's hop into those swatches really quick. So the first shade that I swatched out of the Lorac palette was called Maple. It's just a nice rich chocolatey brown. Then I dipped into the shade Bark, which is a cooler, little bit deeper brown. Next, I dipped into the shade Crepe, which is more of a yellow-based cream shade. And then I dipped into Pink Cream, which is, as the name suggests, a pink cream. Then to add that pop of yellow, I dipped into the Blush Tribe palette and I dipped into the shade Sunflower. Moving on to the second row, to get that nice kind of goldeny shade, I dipped into the shade Pink Bronze. I don't feel like this is quite goldeny enough, but I felt like that was the closest I was gonna get in this palette. Then to get that nice kind of charcoal shade, I dipped into the shade Dark Roast. And then finally, I dipped into that shade called Tool for that pretty champagne pop. Next, I dipped back into my Blush Tribe palette, and for that beautiful kind of coral shade, I actually mixed two shades in this palette together. I mixed the shades Carnation and Zinnia. They're both kind of orangey coral tones. And then finally, to dupe that beautiful mint, I dipped into the shade Flax. And you guys, I feel like I have a pretty darn spot on dupe. It's definitely cured my urge to buy that palette, and I hope it helped you cure your urge as well. So that's gonna wrap it up for me today. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Oh, I forgot to mention in the intro, but this style of video is inspired by Kelly Gooch. I'll have her channel linked down below, along with the other Shop My Stash for Dupes video that I've done on my channel. If you guys are trying to cut down on buying makeup, but you love those new releases, check out that list of videos down below. See if there are any palettes in there that you've really been lusting after, and maybe I can help you talk yourself out of them. But that's gonna wrap it up for me today. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button before you leave. And don't forget to leave me a comment down below letting me know which one of these palettes has really caught your attention, or I would love to know, or if there's another new release, let me know that one down below as well. But I'm gonna wrap it up for today, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!